1.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with Pancolitis. It is a severe case of ulcerative colitis where your whole colon is covered in ulcers. I was shocked, considering I had a very healthy diet. And then, everything changed. Today, I can tell you one thing. Anything is possible. You can reverse this illness and live a healthy, happy life. Follow me for my story. Hi everybody, this is the first episode about how to stop flare in ulcerative colitis. My example is with Pancolitis. My whole colon was covered in ulcers and I found the biggest cure in the way I have changed the way I eat. So first of all, we're gonna start with there are 5 things that I stopped doing. First of all, I stopped eating grains. And yes, I'm going to talk about gluten-free grains as well because they still, believe it or not, contain a little bit of gluten and it's extremely difficult to digest for your intestines. So I completely got rid of all the grains, including oats. So no grains, and I quit any type of sugar and sugar from fruits as well. So I didn't consume any fruits, and I'm talking here only for the first stage where I was in the flare and where I didn't know how to cope with the blood issue. I also stopped eating fibrous foods, so I completely gave up vegetables with high fiber, and to be honest, I gave up all the vegetables at that point. I also stopped eating starchy foods. So let me make this clear. I basically stripped my diet to one and only one thing that I found that was able to calm me down, make me feel like I'm nourished, and gave me all the nutrients that I feel that I needed. I would like to remind you that I was plant-based for many years of my life, and this was a big change, big shift for me from going plant-based to a meat-based diet. But this is how I found help for my condition, and for me nothing else mattered but getting completely free of this symptoms, free of this illness, and I just wanted to function like a healthy person. So quitting grains and all the other foods that I've just mentioned, I started very gently with a meat stock broth, and I would buy the whole chicken or pieces of chicken or any other meat like lamb, and I would cook it for about 3 to 5 hours max and let the meat cook very slowly on a very, very slow heat. At that very first stage, I remember not even adding any vegetables, and that includes onions and garlic and carrots, because I was eager to calm the system down, and I didn't want to interrupt with anything that potentially might irritate it. And believe it or not, after just a week or even less, as far as I remember, everything just stopped, and I was very happy because obviously from going to the toilet 26 times per day with a huge amount of blood, and for a healthy person it might sound insane, but this is what was happening with me, and not being able to function for a couple of good years, I suddenly had no symptoms of ulcerative colitis. Obviously I still felt extremely weak because Pancolitis, let's face it, almost killed me exactly 1.5 years ago. It's coming up to 2 years, and I didn't quite believe that food can do this, as I was told that I will never be able to cure this in any other way than drugs. So when this started working for me, I felt really encouraged to really be self-disciplined. I know that we see all those beautiful pastries and amazing sugar, beautiful cakes and coffee and sweets and anything that can be very tempting for you while you are post-flare. But trust me, being self-disciplined gives you such a power and self-belief that you can fight this illness, that it's not worth going back. Although during this whole process you will find yourself going 3 steps back, 3 steps forward. At the very beginning you will be learning everything about your body, and we are all so different, and that is it's an amazing opportunity to start knowing yourself again. Looking back at this whole illness, I found it as a blessing in a way, because I had the chance to discover how my body can actually feel on the right nutrition. And I would probably have never found out why I had certain issues in the past with certain things, which I'll talk about in different video, if not getting Pancolitis in my life. So there you go. And after a few days, well, over a week, I still continued on eating meat broths and meat stock broths, and I slowly started boiling vegetables. I kept completely away from starchy foods anyway, so I didn't have, and I didn't even want to risk having any starch in my diet, because yet again it's very hard to digest, and obviously it turns into sugars and ferments. So I purely kept it to animal products. At that stage I didn't have any unpasteurized milks or kefirs or anything like that. I just didn't feel ready. I wanted to feel 100% confident that I have the base of my strength to be able to cope with the next section of healing. So it was for a few good weeks where I was very gentle with everything, and slowly I started adding carrots, onions, garlic, and as I mentioned, I stopped. I didn't include any starchy veggies, and I would quickly want to mention that it's unfortunately potatoes and parsnips and Jerusalem artichokes are very high in starch, just like bananas and a few other fruits. So yeah, that was mainly it. And then slowly, when I felt more and more confident, obviously I was adding more and more vegetables, just always remembering about the starchy ones that I should not have, and the and few others like fruits. I kept the fruits off my list for a very long time. I think it was for about 8 months at least. And I also didn't touch caffeine. I didn't do any stimulants. I felt completely scared to actually approach any even superfoods that I was so passionate about in the past. So I just kept it simple, and I also started adding probiotics, and slowly building my guts to the strength where I could feel comfortable eating some of the vegetables, obviously. And then I went for the red meats, and I started eating beef, lamb, and I found an amazing outcome from eating these animals, especially the fats. So I was buying the most fatty bits of the animal so it could nourish me as much as possible. And if it wasn't fatty enough, I would make sure that I would add enough fat to it, so it would nourish my whole body, and that I would feel that I am gaining back my strength. Just remember how important hydration is, but just like me in the past, many of you probably think that hydration just purely comes from water, and yes, that's number one, a nice pure water that does not come from the tap, and if it does, it's nicely filtered, or at least with added charcoal. I strongly encourage you to have a higher intake of fats, but also this can happen after the blood stops, because I know that a lot of people can experience abdominal pain while consuming fats during flare. I also, when the blood stopped, I started juicing, so I've missed at certain stages vegetables, raw vegetables at that stage. I decided to do a lot of juicing, mainly celery, as I could not take anything really else. My taste buds and my body didn't respond very well to my previous habits, and I really started listening to what my body really wants in order to heal. So I strongly encourage you to give yourself a chance and to just see how you feel by introducing yourself very basic foods like our ancestors ate, and quit all the junk, quit the grains, and slowly start rebuilding your strength, and be self-disciplined to see great results, because it's so worth being healthy and being able to go into remission and not suffering from any aches and pains and blood and fatigues and anything that you can relate to in this condition. I can say that I feel extremely happy to be able to function like myself again and feel energized and happy, and not worry about where I can find the next toilet, for example. And I can think crystal clear about everything. So if you have any suggestions for others how you dealt with your flare, comment below, because I think that my purpose here in the internet is to build a community that can support each other and just advise each other, or at least share each other's experience, so that we can feel a little bit less fearless having this condition, and that we have more power to overcome anything that's facing us. Thank you for joining me today. It was a pleasure. I'm still very new to YouTube, so if I come across as a little bit timid, I'm sure with the next episodes I shall be a little bit braver. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening, and I shall see you soon. Thank you.